This motorcycle has no clutch, no gears, no exhaust note, and yet it might be one of the funnest dirt bikes you'll ever ride. This is the Always Moto inspection of the TheStark Varg EX, and these are our first impressions. I've got a TheStark Varg EX for a couple of months to put through some real world riding situations, and we're going to try and answer a couple of questions. Is electric bikes the future? And what do you need to know about owning one of these electric TheStark Vargs? I'm David Hogan, and if you're new to our channel, I'm an off-road vet rider these days. I used to chase the Australian Off-Road Championship around the country with no results worth speaking of. I've raced the Hattah Desert Race, crashed hard at the Hattah Desert Race, got the scars to prove it. I've raced a few Australian 4-day Enduros, and I love me some Enduro Cross. So what is the TheStark Varg EX? It's an electric Enduro motorcycle. No clutch, no gears, and no fuel goes in this bike. It's got up to 80 horsepower on tap. It's got adjustable power maps, engine braking control, and it all runs through what Stark Future call the Arkenstone, which is basically an Android phone strapped to the handlebars, giving you all the information you could ever want. It's way smarter than it needs to be. It can track your ride time, your air time. It can even tell you how to get home. Weight-wise, the bike is right in the ballpark for most modern-day enduro bikes, if only just a tiny bit heavier. And it's designed to be ridden hard, not politely. Now, one thing that needs mentioning when you buy a TheStark Varg, whether it's the MX or the EX, is the options available at the purchase time. You can customize this bike immensely. This bike behind me is the 60 horsepower version, but you can easily upgrade it at purchase or after purchase to the 80 horsepower Alpha model. And we'll get to whether you need 80 horsepower or not in a future video. You can choose things like what tires you actually run, and that's a huge win for me. This bike came fitted with Michelin Enduro medium tires. We have a 90-90-21 on the front and a 140-80-18 on the rear, but you can customize that. It's amazing what choice you can choose from the factory. You can also then choose what goes inside those tires, tubes or mousses. In our case, we've got mousses on board. The fact that you can choose some of these things from stock means that you don't get stuck with some crappy tire that nobody ever wants to ride on, but it came with the bike because it was the stock tire. These customizations mean that you actually get what you want when you purchase from Stark Future. So let's get into those first impressions. When we first picked up this bike from Stark Australia, it was an oh wow moment. One, seeing it sitting there on the stand, it's a good looking bike. But the moment it kicked off for me with the oh wow was putting it into the trailer. Now Matt from Stark Future loaded the bike for us, and he put the bike in reverse crawl mode and reversed the bike under its own power into the back of our trailer. That was oh wow. Made you think you should have that on every bike, because how many times have you tried to push a bike in the trailer backwards and either thrown your back out or just dropped it because the bike decided it was heavier than you remember it to be? That's a great feature to have on an electric motorcycle to help you just make your riding experience even easier. Now there's a bit to know electronically on this bike, because obviously that Arkenstone phone on top controls everything. So you've got to learn how to operate the dash. And at first it can be a bit of a oh crap moment, because there's a lot to learn in a short space of time. It's like kind of taking through that IT course 101 when you first sign up at a new job. How to turn on this, where to sign in there. A little bit overwhelming at start, but once you use it, it's actually quite intuitive. You kind of just follow your nose. If you know how to press the on button, which basically is just the big on button, and hold it for a second, you watch the light until it goes green, and then you figure it out from there, because it's all on the screen, easy to follow. Just follow your nose, you'll get there in the end. Now let's get to that first ride. And here's something that you'll never do on any other bike up until now. My first ride on this bike was backwards. Yes, backwards. That's right, you heard me, backwards. I put it in crawl mode just to see if I could ride it backwards without putting my feet down. And let me tell you, it's not easy. All right, but seriously, going forwards, wow, this thing's amazing. It seriously feels like NASA figured out how to put a rocket in a dirt bike and then make it quieter than a cat burglar breaking into the Louvre trying to steal the Mona Lisa. It's that impressive. And the bike we've got here, it has a hand rear brake. That's right, no foot brake anymore. And honestly, it's been fantastic and frustrating at the same time. Fantastic because the control that you have now that that rear brake is under your finger is next level. It's so much easier to modulate the brake with your hand than it is with that big old heavy foot. And I would absolutely recommend picking a handbrake over a rear brake when you're making your options to purchase one of these Vargs. Now the frustrating part about it, it's the muscle memory. I myself just keep wanting to put my foot on a brake. Even though I've got my hand on the brake, I can tell that I'm still lifting my foot and putting it for a brake pedal that isn't there. My muscle memory just tells me that when I go into a corner, I should put my foot down. Now with the handbrake, I haven't missed the brake as such because I was looking for it under my foot. I still can tell that I've got it under my finger, but it's just the muscle memory that I can't brake. And that's coming from a physio. Muscle memory is hard to undo. Now I've also noticed a few other muscle memory things that I've got from my years of riding gasoline bikes that I've had to brake on a Varg electric bike. And we're gonna get to those videos at some other point. We're gonna have some rules for riding a Stark, so keep an eye out on those. Now something else you're going to notice about riding a TheStark Varg EX is how the forces actually affect your body. The acceleration of this motorcycle is completely different in a gas-powered bike that you're going to ever be on before. So your body gets the forces much differently applied, and it takes a little while for you to adjust. So just be aware that you'll get some different sensations when you get off this bike after a day of riding. But once you get used to this power application and the forces on your body, you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun on this thing, because I did on our first ride. Now I'm not going to tell you how much faster I was or slower I was on this bike compared to my normal gas-powered bike. We're going to put that out in another video, but just let me say this. It was a hell of a lot of fun to ride a TheStark Varg EX around my personal track. Now within the motorcycling industry, I think that comfort out of the crate is a bit of a myth. Everybody is a different size, shape and weight. And that means that you've got to adjust things to suit you and nobody else. Nobody can give you a motorcycle straight out of the crate and be exactly the way you want it to be. You might get completely lucky, but it's pretty rare. Things like you need to adjust the sag, you need to move the lever positions, and even adjust the suspension clickers after you've been out on track for the first 5-10 minutes. These are all normal things for me to adjust. I feel like that's just something that everybody should do when you uncrate it. But in terms of when the bike is sitting here brand new, it's a pretty nice piece of machinery to sit on top of. Now, as per usual with any bike, I've already eyed up a few things that I would like to change just to give myself that extra comfort. And why do I want to do that? Because for me, comfort equals speed, and speed equals smiles. And we'll get to those in some future videos. But if you notice the bike behind me, you might already get a hint at what I've already put on it to make one of those first changes for comfort. Now, as with any new purchase that you get, you've got to pay attention to it. It might not be perfectly put together, maybe a bolt's loose, maybe something isn't quite right when you first get it. For me, that was the grips. Unfortunately, when I went out on the first ride, they were a little bit loose and they turned 90 degrees on me. The solve for that was very simple. I just wired them on. So nothing really of massive concern there. Just pay attention to the grips and whether they need to be wired on before you start your ride. Now, a little bit of a dumb moment for myself with this bike when we started with it. Don't turn the Bluetooth off on the phone. Or in my case, don't try and add your heart rate strap via an app on the phone that then is a Bluetooth device that connects to it, because when it only connects to one Bluetooth device, it loses connection to the bike. Turns out the Arkenstone phone joins the bike via Bluetooth, something I didn't realize. And when you do lose the Bluetooth to the bike, you lose all your telemetry on the screen. So you can't tell what map you're in, how long you've been riding, or any of the stuff that shows up on the screen. Now it's an easy solve. You just turn the phone off and turn it back on again and remove the device that you've added and it all works again. So just remember that old IT 101. Turn it off and turn it on again. Usually solves most of the problems. So you don't have to then contact your Stark dealer in a fluster wondering what it is that's gone wrong. Now with Stark as well, when you do have an issue, you do have the online Sam AI bot that you can contact via your website or via the Arkenstone phone on the dash of the bike and find out what it is that you should be doing or how to correct the issue that you've done along the way. It's a nice program. I've used it a couple of times so far. Very handy to have that quick access 24/7 to. So something I've noticed about having a TheStark Varg in your garage is that it attracts a lot of attention. We put one social post up and all the close mates are DMing about, "Ooh, how's the bike? Is it any good?" Of course it's good. It's a TheStark Varg. Everyone seems to be super curious about the bikes. Everyone's probably on the fence about buying one. And hopefully these videos will give you a little bit of a chance to see inside of why you should buy one and that there's nothing to be scared of. Although the fact that the bike is silent when you're riding, I have managed to scare a bit of the wildlife around. We've got some kangaroos out the back that I've snuck up onto that usually hear me coming from a lot further away that were scared absolutely senseless when I showed up right next to them. So you're going to have to subscribe to the channel because over the next few weeks we're going to go through everything you need to know. We're going to start with things like its first wash, the first changes that we make to it, adjusting the maps, turning the bike on and off, all these simple things. We're going to go through so that you can understand how you should be riding and using your TheStark Varg. So over the course of these videos that we do, of course we're going to talk about the range, and we're going to show you what I've been able to do on this bike, and you can judge for yourself after that if the range is enough for you. So that's my first impression of the TheStark Varg EX, and as you can probably tell, I'm quite enjoying my experience so far. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below or send us a DM on our Instagram page. I'm David Hogan, that's another Always Moto production, and we'll see you at the track.